Okay, so next session, Mike Elsmore from IBM is going to tell us about Internet of Data. Go for it, Mike.
Hi, I know it's late, it's not that bad. Just think, in an hour and 15 minutes there's beer. Right, as politely introduced, I work for IBM, which means I need to have that, which is a big fat legal disclaimer to say that whatever I say now isn't true and IBM doesn't believe me at all. But right, this is me. I am Mike Elsmore. There's my email if you so want to spam me, please. I'll give you something to do. Right, and there's my Twitter handle. I work in this thing. This thing actually is Cloud Data Services, which is a specific part of IBM that does data layer stuff, which means I play with this stuff, which is Cloudant, T-shirt, and DashDB, which is data warehousing. What this really means is I spend all day playing with CouchDB, CouchDB-like things, and a project called PouchDB, because I like building offline first products. It's what I do, and I really, really enjoy it. And so, speak louder. You want louder? Right, louder it is. IoT, Internet of Data, on an IoT track. So, what's this Internet of Things? It's the greatest meme I found this morning to fill this void. I really wish I had a beard like that. It's great. Right, I spend a lot of my time researching what I can do with Couch and all the data sets I can use. But every so often it's really, really hard. And then October last year, something amazing happened. I went to an event called Battle Hack, which has been run by Braintree, and I won and got sent to America to do some stuff. The thing is, the great thing with that is A, I got Giant Axe, B, I got to go to America, and C, they gave you loads and loads of swag when you went to the States. And that's where this thing comes in. And suddenly I realized I've got a piece of equipment that is randomly giving me data all the time. I just need to actually do something with it. So you look into wearables, what they can do, all that stuff. So go to hackathons and you play with it. I worked out that it's a little bit, well, that's going to be honest. I went and found out what health data means, and what health data means to most people is this, which is quantified self. Now, that piece of kit, well, I'll do it first. Quantified self is something that's called life logging. It's a principle that's been around for a long time, and the whole thing is about recording information about yourself. So your blood pressure, heart rate, what you eat, what you're doing. And this dude in 1996 put together a fishing harness with loads and loads of sensors on it. It's really, 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 really nerdy and really, really, really bad. And I somehow think this is amazing, but it's horrible. But when you look at all this stuff, that kit that's on the previous slide, this is it. It's, well, it was called the Quantometric Self-Sensing Prototype, which is a really cool name. I joke. And what this kit had is a respiration sensor, ECG, EEG, skin conductivity. I still actually don't know what that is or why you'd have it, but it's recording. And an EVG, which was the screen so you could visualize all the data. Thing is, that was back in 1996, which was 20 years ago. Not quite, but nearly there. 15 years ago. But that's really old hat. There is now wearable devices that you can permanently plug in. The one on the left is something called a cardio core. That's essentially just a cardiogram that reports to an iPhone, or I think it has an Android app now, I'm not sure. But so you can record your heart rate, you can record your brain waves with a Muse, which I don't know why you'd ever do it, but you can. You can record your eating habits with Fitbit Flex or Google Fit or one other of 100 fitness apps. They all seem to do the same job. There's just one problem. Everybody here seen a picture of somebody who wears Google Glass, right? All right. There's a term that I was introduced to, which means glass hole, where you constantly walk around with some, yes, Dan, yes, where you walk around and whatever you do, you look like a complete and utter, insert expletive here, because you are one of a few people who are wearing Google Glass. Would you really want to walk around with essentially something the size of a GoPro strapped to the middle of your chest, recording your EEG, something strapped to your head, well, in my case, with glasses as well, everything else necessary? No. And I'm really, really lazy. So I decided I did something stupid. I decided to see what I could build myself and play around with. What most people think of this is traditional IoT stuff. So, well, when I say traditional IoT stuff, I mean traditional bits of hardware for gathering sensor information. So Arduino, and on the right there is an ESP8266, which is a really, really small Chinese open source microcontroller, which is now Arduino compatible, and has a random voltage of 3 volts, but hey-ho, it still does the trick. And so you can make yourself, reasonably sized sensor suites that you can bolt to yourself. Fine, but you'd have to bolt that to yourself as well. And then you have to connect them to the net. Well, there is solutions for connecting these things to the net. There's like this, which is the IoT Foundation, which just allows you to link Arduinos, Raspberry Pis, most wearable connected devices, and just stream the data straight out. But once again, I'm really lazy. And when I say I'm really lazy, I came to the conclusion that I didn't want to record everything about myself. I didn't want to write everything down. And I sure as hell didn't want to have to bolt 15 pieces of equipment to me every morning after a shower just to do this experiment. So I should really have learned to turn off the Twitter notifications for Mac, because I'm getting trolled in the front row already. It's great. But, so what I think, IoT isn't just about wearables or hand-built devices or just, getting to communicate and transport information between each other. It's complete bull, to be honest. IoT is just a catch-all term, like NoSQL is a catch-all term for anything that isn't an SQL database. It doesn't fit the trick. The official definition from Wikipedia, yes, I'm quoting Wikipedia because I didn't like the other definitions. I can't be bothered to read it out to you because, actually no, sod it. The Internet of Things, the network of physical objects or things embedded with electronics, software, sensors, and connectivity to enable it to achieve greater value and service by exchanging data with the manufacturer, operator, and or connected, oh, sod it, it's great, you can read it all. It doesn't say anything there that you have to hand build it. You even have to give a damn about the source of information you're getting. All you want to do is gather information and make decisions upon it. So I no longer care where it is from. I've decided that during the course of this experiment, I've been doing this since about February when I realized I kind of need to actually do something with this that I'd had for 3 months. So I've built an app I've built 8 apps that record information from Google Fit, the little heart symbol, Twitter, Swarm, and a random Raspberry Pi that I decided to record the temperature in my office, because if I'm not traveling, it's where I am. You know what? It's relevant information to me. And you don't need to do things with connected devices. You don't have to be a hardware engineer. You don't have to give a damn about what you're getting. You can build a packaged app in Cordova, recording GPS coordinates, and build yourself a tracking system. You can, I don't know, there's a world of possibilities where you can use existing materials. So you could use a Google Glass and literally record all your statistic information straight from it, but there's no point. There is meant to be a demo here, but I happen to have been running my Couch app. Weirdly enough, with CouchDB, you can embed the application inside of it. I decided to write mine doing that to show off Cloudant. Problem is, the cluster I wrote it on is dead, and the engineers are working on it. So I thought I would do something else, because I still have 20 minutes. Right. That is a stream I've taken the code out and just done a rip of all the JSON objects from Swarm, aka Foursquare, but the nice bit to use, and just decided to stream it out. In here are lat-long locations of everywhere I've been checking into, as well as definitions of what I've been doing. So if I want to log the information, I can tell if I've been eating out at a McDonald's or eating at a nice restaurant. So I can tell if I'm being relatively healthy or spending way too much money on what I'm doing. It's telling me if I'm checking in at work, because I have a bad habit of checking in everywhere. I think in the last 6 hours, I've checked into 8 locations, just because I've walked to slightly different buildings in the same location. Hey ho, it's what you do. There's also that, which, oddly enough, there is no nice JSON of the Google Fit API. I've been using the node library to extract the information from it, and it's all in small chunks. There's no large descriptive batch of the information. So, is that actually my data up to now? Yes, this is me walking around this afternoon going to get food, because why not? Because I was hungry. Recording this information and storing it in, this is a database I imported earlier for the Twitter archive. It's my complete Twitter history. Essentially, with this device, my phone, which is reporting my GPS location, me actively doing one click every few hours when I so desire it, I can build a portfolio of myself. I can build a time series data set and actually look into what I'm doing at any time and see if I'm being a bad person or a good person. The whole point of quantified self and my theory of Internet of Data is all you need to do is gather lots of information and process it in whatever means you find necessary. For example, that's great. Chrome's crashed on me because the data set's too large. That is actually screw it. Or it's going to die on me anyway. That's reporting from a cloud cluster where I have a little app that's recording my office, which I do actually have a working application on. So you can do all the time series analysis within a CouchDB service to actually see what you're doing. Now, who here actually does any form of analytics on themselves? There's like the famous Stephen Wolfram recording all his emails. So that's a fair few people. Can I ask those people, why are you doing it? Go for it.
I'm a horrible nerd.
That's a fair point, to describe yourself as a horrible nerd to actually record your own information. That means I'm a horrible nerd as well. Oh, great, thanks. But yeah, there's no point why you shouldn't be doing this. How much data do you think you're pumping out per day? Petabytes, gigabytes, megabytes? So if I did an analysis a little while ago on how many lines of code I was reporting to Git for work, and I was reporting on average something like 10,000 lines a day. Now, if I take that into account, is each one of those an individual data point? Is it each commit a single data point? Is it seeing how active I am at work or how much I'm copying and pasting from Stack Overflow? There's a surprising amount you can record, and there's a surprising amount you can tell from yourself just without even having to think about it. And I don't see why we shouldn't be. I really, really wish I could show you my application, which had got a nice time series analysis. All I can say is that the basic idea is you're meant to be able to do time series analysis based on timestamps. So that timestamp, where is the mouse? That screen is really dark. Can you even read that? That's like black on black with a little bit of green. But, okay, yeah. In CouchDB, there is I can actually write this as I'm going. There's a little thing called a view where we can record data. So in this case, we're going to go Twitter, and the new view is going to be my Twitter archive. And if the doc, because it's all in docs, it's all in JavaScript, and it's all in JSON, because it's CouchDB, and for some odd reason they decided the best language to implement as their means of interpreting everything was JavaScript. Bravo, chaps. So if doc dot data source is equal to Twitter archive, this is essentially all I'd written in my application was a bunch of standard CouchDB views and, yeah, okay, it's got enough brackets, and about 3 different searches which were doing bound boxes, so I could see how much activity I was doing in a specific space, because my Twitter activity, I purposely track my lat long. Same with my swarm information. I could tell then with what's going on then and checking against similar timestamps how active I was being. Was I walking around a lot? Was I staying in the office all the time? But unfortunately, if your app dies, your app dies. And we all have to live with the demo gods being cruel and heartless to us. So we've got doc.id. And this is where it gets funky, because I now have to remember off the top of my head the JavaScript time functions, which, you know what, I'm really hopeless at remembering, because I am a really, 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 really lazy dev, and I enjoy the fact that I can Stack Overflow all the things. Oh, man. If anybody had noticed this earlier who was speaking, it's really warm up here. It's not just me being a fat git either. All right, there we go. So, passing in time, nuts. One of these days I'm going to remember to not click save, or try and do a save whilst I'm in a browser, and that's never going to happen. All right, so d dot, yeah. If somebody notices that I'm writing the wrong function for the dates, feel free to correct me, because it's better for you to correct me than me stand here making a giant mistake. Okay, so if there we go. Now, in theory, if I do this, we should start getting a view, or not. Hang on a minute. Not new view, database. DevTalks. New view, Twitter, views. All right, nuts to this. Let's just... This is really weird. You know how most people develop with 2 screens? Or, actually, most people I do know do develop with 2 screens. And the screen is like right next to it. This is really quite bizarre looking. I feel like I'm looking at the, well, I am actually looking at the floor to do this. For some odd reason, that's not registering. Is that a colon? Ah, there we go. And I've messed up the functions. Great. Right, well, there's no point in me trying to fix that right now, because that just makes me look more inept than I already am. Yeah. Usually I should have prepared this bit, but I was spending the last half an hour trying to kick my old demo into life, and that wasn't working. And screaming at the engineers at the other end. Well, on Slack, as much as you can scream. Essentially, the idea is you can do complex incremental keys. So if you have information for the last 10 years, you give it timestamped information, you can break it down, and then you can go all the information in this year, this month, this day, the second, or minute, second, microsecond, as far as you can go is down the time series set that you can gather, and then you can analyze it. You can say how active you're being in certain spaces. You can see how much data you're producing. You can see what kind of data you're producing at any one time. You can do between sets. There's also the search function that's now coming into CouchDB2, which means you can do select style queries. So you can go, tell me how many times I'm using the word but on Twitter for some reason. I don't know why you would say that, but you can. But I can't show the rest of my demo, so there's, that's me gonna cry off stage. Right. Let's move that out of the way, do that, and then that. That's the end, because demo was meant to fill up about 15 minutes of that, and it failed. So, questions, anybody? Yo.
So by monitoring yourself, what are the greatest benefits that you have actually found that have helped you in your day-to-day life?
I've actually recently discovered the fact that I travel a lot for my job, and surprisingly, I'm actually more active whilst I'm traveling because I'm spending an awful lot more time on foot. So I'm actually realizing I need to spend more time away from the office and away from home to actually become healthier. The only downside is I'm also realizing the more I travel, the shittier I eat. So I'm eating more burgers, more calorie-rich food. So it's kind of balancing out. I've also realized I'm cursing an awful lot more on Twitter than I used to for some reason.
Did you do a stat of how many times you say fuck on Twitter?
Pardon?
Did you do a stat of how many times you said fuck on Twitter?
I'm actually
just curious.
I really want to look at that.
There you go. You had something to do with that. Any other question?
Anyone curious about what is quantified self? Or did I actually explain that one quite well? No?
Try again. You gonna do another try?
Yeah, okay. Right, quantified self is literally just recording everything and anything you can think of about yourself, digitally or via analog means. So the original way is they used to keep logbooks of eating habits and do analysis on that. We can automate all those processes with apps, et cetera, et cetera. The only reason I didn't want to do any of that stuff is because I'm really, really lazy and I want to keep it all into a smaller space and automate my entire process. So the reason I only record what kind of restaurants I'm going to rather than actually what food I'm eating is because you can tell roughly from the restaurant what kind of food it is and how healthy it is. Roughly.
Yeah, and I guess it's always easier to track your movements than to track the food because it just requires this additional.
Yes. Geolocation is a wonderful thing.
I know a lot of developers complaining about they say they never record their food unless there's a device you put to your neck and somehow it just scans the food as it goes in.
This is true. There's also a realization I've just had, which is I'm recording all this information. That means somebody else is recording it all for me as well, so you may as well do it yourself.
Yeah, I guess if you go back to Google, you can do a Freedom of Information Act, you can get your data.
Yeah, true.
Thank you very much, Mike. There's another question.
We have an actual question.
So what is the difference between you and Google?
What's the difference between me and Google?
IBM and Google.
Oh, IBM and Google.
Or collecting data.
Oh, for collecting data. I can't comment on that because I actually don't know. I even have a legal disclaimer in here to get around that. I couldn't possibly comment on the policies my company follows for gathering data. Actually, majority of the company is for farming out services, so IBM isn't actively scraping your data. IBM's just facilitating the means where it's stored. Any more?
Any other question? Okay, just a reminder that at 8 o'clock we're going to Berea H again. So thank you very much, Mike.